Well, there was also something of a rowdy crowd last night at a town hall in Utah. Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who is chairman of the House Oversight Committee, was met with booze and more.
I'm going to let... There's lots we got to talk about, okay?
This is now the time in which we live. Once again, thousands turned out at a local high school to question the congressman, who was visibly annoyed there. The crowd was a vocal about a number of issues, including a possible ethics violation surrounding counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, something that the congressman did weigh in on in a letter sent yesterday as well. For more here, then, let's bring in CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris, joining me now from Washington. And Steve, Congressman Chaffetz, someone was reelected by a margin of almost 50 points. But boy, it did not appear there was much levity in that room last night.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this is going to be something I think we're going to see a lot of, especially as these members of Congress go home at the end of next week for break and they have events in their districts. There's no question there's an organized effort from liberals and Democrats to go to Republican districts and Republican members who are holding these public events and really hold them accountable for what they want to do on Obamacare. We've seen it repeatedly already, but it's going to, I think, only get bigger. It's a sort of a rerun of what the Tea Party did in 2009, 2010 against Democratic members of Congress. But where I think Republicans need to be very worried isn't necessarily, first of all, the optics of this are not very good, but there are some Republicans. There was an example of a Republican in Florida, Congressman Bilirakis, who is in a heavily Republican district, who was getting serious questions from Republican voters in his district about these Obamacare questions. That, I think, has to worry the congressmen more than Democrats who are coming out to protest and raise Cain at these places. If they have Republicans, so in Bilirakis' district, that was a district that went for Trump by 19 points. He's got people who should be supportive of him and of Donald Trump coming out and criticizing the idea of repealing Obamacare. That has to be concerning to Republicans. They're going to have questions. They're going to have answers to those questions, especially as they go home during recess in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the promise to repeal and replace to be done in a matter of weeks was made by the president, and to hear him on Super Bowl Sunday say it might be 2018 before we see anything certainly had to be eye-opening for many. As it regards that specific instance yesterday that I mentioned on the way in here, Kellyanne Conway, who essentially pushed Ivanka Trump's fashion line on a news program yesterday. It inspired outrage of a bipartisan sort, and certainly Congressman Chaffetz was in the middle of it all. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, so Chaffetz, as the head of the House Oversight Committee, has written a letter, along with the ranking member of that committee, basically demanding some sort of discipline for Conway, because in their mind she has violated ethics rules for government employees. What's interesting about these ethics rules, however, is it's up to the agency, or in this case the White House, to mete out discipline. And so that really, it's her bosses that would mete out this discipline, whether it's President Trump or Chief of Staff Reince Priebus or the counsel, White House counsel, Don McGahn. Somebody in that unit would be the one that would mete out discipline. The question is, what is the discipline? Is there going to be any disciplinary action? We heard Sean Spicer say yesterday that she's been, quote, counseled on this. We don't know what that means. So there are a lot of questions from the Office of Government Ethics, from the House Oversight Committee, and from others, Republicans and Democrats, who are saying, what are you going to do about this? She broke ethics rules in saying this. So we're going to keep an eye on this and see how this all plays out.
I want to turn quickly to the Ninth Circuit decision that inspired, if nothing else, the president to find his caps lock button on his keyboard yesterday. The political fallout for what many, again, in a bipartisan fashion, saw as a big blow early on for this administration is what?
Well, what it is it gives a huge boost to Democrats who in the first 3 weeks of this administration have found something I think that they can sort of sink their teeth into and say, we are succeeding against Donald Trump and the policies that he wants to enact as President of the United States. Now, of course, this court case isn't over, but this decision yesterday definitely has gotten Democrats fairly giddy. We saw Hillary Clinton sort of goading Trump and Republicans on this. We saw we saw Eric Holder, the former Attorney General, tweeting about this as well. I mean, Democrats are very, very happy about what happened yesterday. It's giving them a boost going into the continued fight here.
I want to keep foreign policy then here in the offing. Again, we just saw moments ago the visit has begun of the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe alongside the president. The meeting, though, comes as we are learning that Mexico's foreign minister personally assisted Jared Kushner in making changes to a recent speech given by President Trump as he announced his executive order regarding a border wall. That is an interesting bit of news. Steve, what to make of it?
Well, Jared Kushner is the most interesting part of that, and I think what we're seeing, there have been a couple of examples. There was a report last week that he and his wife, Ivanka Trump, the daughter of the president, scuttled an executive order that would have rolled back some LGBT protections. So it seems as if what's going on here is that Kushner is turning out to be quite a moderating force inside the White House. We've seen Donald Trump on the campaign and throughout the first few weeks of his administration really pushing forth pretty hard on some hardline positions on things, and Kushner looks like got his hands on this this script about the wall and about immigration, and seemed to have moderated it to the pleasure of Mexico. It's just a very interesting role that Kushner is playing, and the fact that Trump is listening to him, very, very interesting.
Indeed. Steve Chaggaris, everything from you, my friend, is very, very interesting. If nothing else, Steve Chaggaris there in Washington, we always appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.